Indus Valley Civilization, Harappan Civilization Protohistoric Period Questions with Answers. 1. Which river valley is not associated with the 4 earliest civilizations of the world? Answer: Ganges. 2. Around which year did the first cities develop in Mesopotamia? Answer: 3500 BC. 3. What common feature marked the civilizations of Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, and China? Answer: large cities. 4. What is the other name for the Indus Valley Civilization? Answer: Harappan civilization. 5. Why was the Indus Valley Civilization renamed the Indus Civilization? Answer: sites were discovered far away from the river valley. 6. The name India is derived from which river? Answer: Indus. 7. How did the Persians pronounce the word Sindhu? Answer: Hindu. 8. Which civilizations first discovered sites were Harappa and Mohenjo-daro? Answer: Indus Valley. 9. What does Hindustan mean? Answer: land of the Hindu. 10. Which emperor converted the area around the Indus River into a Persian satrapy? Answer: Darius I. 11. What discovery helped solve the puzzle of the sudden appearance of the Harappan civilization? Answer: findings at Mehergarh in Baluchistan. 12. Who conducted the excavations at Mehergarh between 1973 and 1980? Answer: Jean-Francois Zerige and Richard H. Meadow. 13. Which area represents the geographical extent of the Harappan civilization? Answer: from Shore to Ghai in Afghanistan to southern Gujarat. 14. What marks the first phase of urbanization in the Indian subcontinent? Answer: the Indus civilization with cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. 15. What is not a characteristic feature of the Harappan civilization? Answer: widespread use of iron tools. 16. What material became more dominant during the urban phase of the Harappan civilization? Answer: copper and bronze. 17. What is one unresolved question about the Harappan civilization mentioned in the passage? Answer: how its ruling class mobilized surplus. 18. What are flaked stone tools during the Harappan urban period indicative of? Answer: standardization and reduced reliance on stone. 19. What artifact is not typically associated with the Harappan civilization? Answer: steel tools. 20. What is suggested as a focus for better understanding the Harappan civilization? Answer: detailed study of seals and their utilization. 21. What is a significant aspect of the Harappan decline? Answer: large-scale desertion of settlements. 22. Which site provided evidence of a fortified settlement from the pre-Harappan phase? Answer: Kot Diji. 23. What theory suggests that the Indus civilization was influenced by Mesopotamia and Elam? Answer: stimulus diffusion theory. 24. Which theory proposed that the Harappan civilization achieved its characteristic style indigenously but was elaborated through Sumerian contact? Answer: compromise theory. 25. According to theories in the early 1970s, what factor was considered crucial to the urbanization of the Indus civilization? Answer: Trade with Mesopotamia. 26. What is the primary criticism of the trade-focused theory of Indus urban growth? Answer. Lack of archaeological evidence of trade with Mesopotamia during the early Harappan period. 27. What role did Western scholars often attribute to Mesopotamia in the development of the Indus civilization? Answer. Fertilizing the growth of the civilization. 28. What marked the transition of the Harappan civilization to its mature phase according to Western theories? Answer. Intensification of trade with Mesopotamia. 29. What archaeological sites besides Code DG supported the idea of Proto-Harappan cultures? Answer. Amri and Kalibangan. 30. What perspective about the origin of the Indus civilization remains common in Western archaeological writings? Answer. It must be linked to Mesopotamian developments. 31. Around what year did climatic conditions in South Asia become similar to today's? Answer. 8000 BC. 32. What was one of the most fundamental advances made during this period? Answer. Domestication of animals and plants. 33. Which activity became dominant after the domestication of plants? Answer. Sedentary settlement. 34. What new crafts were associated with permanent settlements? Answer. Pottery, smelting of copper, and manufacture of tools. 35. Why was the Indus floodplain suitable for early settlements? Answer. The alluvial floodplain was fertile for agriculture. 36. What marks the earliest settlement at Mehergarh? Answer. A large Neolithic village. 37. What led to the abandonment of Mehergarh around the middle of the 3rd millennium BC? Answer. Unknown reasons. 38. Which site is located near the right bank of the Gomel River? Answer. Gumla. 39. What distinguishes the early settlement at Sarekhola? Answer. Presence of pit dwellings in a Neolithic context. 41. Which site marks the first stage in the evolution of the Indus civilization? Answer. Mehergarh. 42. What is the primary significance of Mehergarh in the context of the Indus civilization? Answer. It provides the earliest evidence of settled agriculture in the Indian subcontinent. 43. What phase of the Indus civilization is best evidenced at Amri? Answer. Pre-Harappan to mature Harappan transition. 44. When did the early cultures of Baluchistan appear in places like Mehergarh? Answer. Around 6000 BC. 45. What distinguishes Kalibangan from other Harappan sites? Answer. Excellent preservation of pre-Harappan strata. 46. What was a unique feature of Old Kalibangan? Answer. A planned rectangular city with a north-south axis. 47. When was Old Kalibangan abandoned, and for what reason? Answer. Around 20 to 50 BC, for unknown reasons. 48. What is a distinguishing feature of the new Kalibangan? Answer. Citadel and lower town separation. 49. What special structure was found in the new Kalibangan? Answer. Fire altars on a smaller mound. 50. What was peculiar about Kalibangan compared to other Indus civilization sites? Answer. It lacked mother goddess figurines. 51. What was the most unique feature of Lothal? Answer: a large dock. 52. What was the likely purpose of the large stones with holes found at the bottom of Lothal's dock? Answer: anchors for ships. 53. Why was Lothal likely founded during the mature Harappan period? Answer: to meet the demand for raw materials like cotton and copper. 54. What is a possible explanation for the decline of Mohenjo-daro? Answer: rising groundwater levels. 55. Why is it challenging to determine the origins of Mohenjo-daro's earliest strata? Answer: the early strata are covered by rising groundwater. 56. What evidence supports the hypothesis that the Indus civilization was an indigenous development? Answer: Neolithic settlements in Baluchistan, including Mehergarh. 57. Which of the following is true about Lothal's trade significance? Answer: it provided materials like cotton and copper to other Indus cities. 58. What makes radiocarbon dating important for Indus civilization studies? Answer: it helps date accessible strata where earlier records are unclear. 59. What earlier misconception about the Indus civilization has been corrected by recent excavations? Answer: the hypothesis that it was an extension of Mesopotamian civilization. 60. What is a significant challenge in studying the mature Harappan culture? Answer: limited knowledge about its exact timeline and origins. 61. What was Sir John Marshall's initial estimate for the duration of the occupation at Mohenjo-daro? Answer: c. 3250 to 2750 BC. 62. What do the Indus seals found at Mesopotamian sites indicate? Answer: active trade contacts between 2350 and 1770 BC. 63. How has radiocarbon dating affected the study of the Indus civilization? Answer: it introduced the need to revise earlier views. 64. According to D.P. Agrawal, what is the likely duration of the Indus civilization? Answer: 2300 to 1750 BC. 65. What makes the Indus civilization stand out among other ancient civilizations? Answer: its geographical extent. 66. Which site marks the southernmost point of the Indus civilization, based on recent excavations? Answer: Daimabad, Maharashtra. 67. What evidence was found at Balathal that links it to the Harappan settlements? Answer: cultural affinities in ceramics and tools. 68. What is significant about Mehergarh in the context of the Indus civilization? Answer: it is the oldest known agricultural settlement in the Indian subcontinent. 69. Which radiocarbon dating calibration was mentioned as helpful in resolving chronological difficulties? Answer: Musca calibration. 70. What period does the Indus civilization primarily belong to? Answer: Bronze Age. 71. Which of the following statements about Indus cities is true? Answer: centralized planning is evident at major sites. 72. Mohenjo-daro is located on the bank of which river? Answer: Indus. 73. Which city was situated on the banks of the now extinct Saraswati River? Answer: Banwali. 74. What significant discovery was made by Sir Alexander Cunningham at Harappa in 1872-73? Answer. A seal of unknown origin. 75. Who directed the Harappa archaeological project HARP starting in 1986? Answer. George F. Dales and J. Mark Canoyer. 76. Why were major excavations at Mohenjo-daro banned after 1964-65? Answer. Concerns over damage due to weathering. 77. Gola Dhoro, a small craft and trading town, is located near which geographical feature? Answer. Gulf of Kutch. 78. What was the primary evidence of prosperity at Gola Dhoro? Answer. Flourishing craft and trading activities. 79. What was a unique feature of Gola Dhoro's fortification? Answer. It left limited space for residential and workshop construction. 90. What do the twin mounds at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and Kalibangan indicate? Answer. A division between public and private sectors. 91. What is the relationship between the size and planning of Indus cities? Answer. No direct relationship exists between size and planning. 92. Which site contrasts with Mohenjo-daro in terms of size and planning but shares similar features like burnt brick houses and drains? Answer. Lothal. 93. Which site had limited use of burnt bricks, poor civic drainage, and wells, indicating a lower material standard? Answer. Kalibangan. 94. How wide were the main streets at Mohenjo-daro? Answer. 13 to 35 feet. 95. What characteristic did the inner lanes of Harappan cities commonly exhibit? Answer. Twisting and turning with sharp right-angled bends. 96. What feature was commonly used in the drainage system at Mohenjo-daro and Lothal? Answer. Burnt brick drains. 97. How were the drains at Mohenjo-daro designed for maintenance? Answer. They had removable stone slabs or bricks for cleaning. 98. What type of system was used in Kalibangan for handling household wastewater? Answer. Soakage jars outside houses. 99. What feature in the drainage systems of Mohenjo-daro helped avoid water flow obstruction? Answer. Rounded bends in drains. 100. Based on its drainage system and material standard, Kalibangan is considered. Answer. A poorer city compared to Lothal or Mohenjo-daro. 101. How many wells were estimated to be in Mohenjo-daro? Answer. 700 wells in Mohenjo-daro. 102. What was the average diameter of most wells in Mohenjo-daro? Answer. 2 feet 2 inches. 103. What material was commonly used in the construction of Harappan houses? Answer. Wood and brick. 104. Which feature of the Harappan houses was most distinctive in Mohenjo-daro? Answer. The bathrooms with drains. 105. Where were the granaries located in Harappa? Answer. Within the citadel. 106. What was the purpose of the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro? Answer. A ritual bathing site. 107. Which of the following features was found in the lower town of Mohenjo-daro? Answer. Rows of single-room tenements. 108. What kind of materials were used in the construction of Harappan wells? Answer: burnt bricks. 109. What was the major difference between Chanhudaro and other Indus cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa? Answer: it lacked a citadel. 110. What was discovered in Chanhudaro that indicates specialized craftsmanship? Answer: bead-making and metalworking workshops. 111. The granaries at Harappa were used primarily for what purpose? Answer: storing grain. 112. Which site is known for its large-scale stone cutting and polishing? Answer: Dholavira. 113. What was the likely purpose of the oblong multipillared assembly hall in Mohenjo-daro? Answer: an administrative meeting place. 114. The bathrooms in Harappan houses were connected to what feature? Answer: a complex network of sewage channels. 115. What is one feature that was notably rare in Harappan houses? Answer: windows. 116. Which of the following areas is not mentioned as relevant to the growth of the Indus civilization? Answer: Deccan Plateau. 117. In which area is the transition from the early Harappan culture to the mature Harappan civilization believed to have occurred? Answer: Kolistan Ghaggar system. 118. What is the total number of mature Harappan sites discovered in Kolistan? Answer: 174. 119. What is the approximate size of the area in Kolistan where 414 sites along the Hakra river bed were discovered? Answer: 400 miles. 120. What was a major economic activity in Kolistan, indicated by the discovery of mass production areas? Answer: brick manufacturing. 121. Which river is identified as the Saraswati in early literature and linked to the Ghaggar river? Answer: Sutlej. 122. In which region was the average size of Harappan settlements between a few acres and 60 acres? Answer: Rajasthan, Haryana, and Punjab. 123. What is the approximate size of the settlement at Kotla Nihang Khan near Ropar? Answer: 2.6 hectares. 124. Which site in the Shivalik Piedmont of Punjab is mentioned for its 2.6 hectare size? Answer: Dhalewan. 125. How many sites have been reported in an area of approximately 50 by 25 kilometers in the region of Rajasthan, Haryana, and Punjab? Answer: 21. 126. Which of the following sites is considered as large as Mohenjo-daro? Answer: Baglian Dathea. 127. What is the main characteristic of the Harappan sites in the Shivalik Piedmont of Punjab? Answer: small settlements around 2 to 3 hectares. 128. Which ancient river system in Kolistan is associated with the drying up of the Saraswati Ghaggar? Answer: Sutlej. 129. What geographical feature separates the Kolistan desert from the central part of Bahawalpur? Answer: the Hakra depression. 130. What type of pottery has been found in the sites of Dhalewan, Gurni Kalan, and others in the Punjab region? Answer: pre-Harappan and mature Harappan pottery. 131. Which of the following locations is believed to have served as the main mercantile center for trade between the Indus region and Iran and Central Asia? Answer: Chanhudaro. 132. What is the approximate size of Mohenjo-daro based on the latest estimates? Answer: 250 acres. 133. Which Harappan site is considered the largest settlement in Sindh, with an area of around 86 acres? Answer: Mohenjo-daro. 134. Which of the following Harappan sites in Kutch is associated with the extraction of chert, carnelian, agate, and jasper? Answer: Khandaria. 135. What is the primary economic activity at the Harappan site of Nageshwar in Gujarat? Answer: shell collection for bangles and corn shells. 136. Which of the following raw materials were available in Gujarat and played a significant role in the Harappan economy? Answer: semi-precious stones, marine shells, copper, and ivory. 137. The Harappan sites on the Makran coast, such as Sutkagindar, Sotkako, and Kharia Kot, were believed to be primarily associated with which activity? Answer: maritime trade with the Gulf and Mesopotamia. 138. What is the size of the Harappan settlement of Shortughai in northeast Afghanistan? Answer: 2.5 hectares. 139. The site of Dabrakot in North Baluchistan is believed to have been a settlement related to which activity? Answer: resource procurement or trade. 140. The expansion of the Indus civilization into regions like Sindh, Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, and Gujarat occurred around which time, according to radiocarbon evidence? Answer: 2500 BC. 141. In which area is the most dense concentration of Indus civilization sites found? Answer: Kholistan. 142. Which geographical feature played a key role in the distribution of Indus civilization sites, particularly along the Ghaggar-Hakra system? Answer: the Ghaggar-Hakra river course. 143. Which area is associated with the first movement of the Indus civilization, around 2500 BC, according to the evidence? Answer: Kholistan. 144. The movement of the Indus civilization to the Saurashtra Peninsula and mainland Gujarat is believed to have occurred from which region? Answer: Sindh. 145. Which of the following sites in Gujarat is believed to have been a manufacturing center for semi-precious stone objects? Answer: Nagwada. 146. What is suggested by the presence of large granaries at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro? Answer: the Harappans had a surplus of agricultural products. 147. Which of the following is true about the plough used by the Harappans? Answer: it was drawn by bullocks. 148. Which crop was not commonly cultivated by the Harappans? Answer: sugarcane. 149. What evidence suggests that the Harappans might have practiced irrigation? Answer: the channeling of overflowing rainwater and possible lift irrigation. 150. Which animals were commonly domesticated by the Harappans? Answer: sheep, goats, and Indian humped cattle. 151. Where have evidence of pastoral campsites been found, suggesting the importance of pastoralism in the Harappan economy? Answer: in the Hakra Valley and northern Gujarat. 152. Which of the following craft items was not typically produced in Harappan workshops? Answer: iron tools. 153. What was a significant feature of the Harappan pottery from the mature period? Answer: It had a red slip and black painted decoration. 154. What evidence supports the idea that Harappans were engaged in international trade? Answer. Evidence of Harappan goods such as beads and inscribed shards in the Gulf and Mesopotamia. 155. Which of the following materials was used for making Harappan seals? Answer. Steatite. 156. Where were Harappan bead-making shops discovered? Answer. Lothal and Chanhudaro. 157. What is the primary method used by the Harappans to extract gold? Answer. Panning or washing of gold dust. 158. What role did pastoralists play in the Harappan civilization? Answer. They likely provided goods and information linking various settlements. 159. Which of the following materials was not used in Harappan bead making? Answer. Obsidian. 160. What was a significant contribution of Harappan society in the development of cotton? Answer. They were the first to domesticate cotton. 161. Which of the following was a key export from the Harappan civilization? Answer. Cotton goods. 162. What was the primary form of currency in Harappan trade? Answer. Barter system. 163. Where were many Indus-type seals discovered, providing evidence of trade links between the Harappans and Mesopotamians? Answer. In Mesopotamia, including cities like Ur and Kish. 164. Which of the following was an import into the Harappan civilization? Answer. Gold from Afghanistan, Persia, and South India. 165. What was the likely method used for trading between the Harappans and the Mesopotamians? Answer. Trade through barter. 166. Which of the following was used for land transport in the Harappan civilization? Answer. Bullock carts and pack oxen. 167. What is the significance of the dockyard at Lothal in the context of Harappan trade? Answer. It served as an important center for sea and river transport. 168. Which of the following items were part of the evidence found at Lothal that links it to Mesopotamian trade? Answer. Indus seals and jewelry. 169. What is suggested by the discovery of a terracotta model of a ship from Lothal? Answer. The Harappans likely engaged in overseas trade using boats and ships. 170. What does the presence of caravan transport by pack oxen suggest about Harappan trade? Answer. Long-distance trade was conducted across rough and wooded areas, often using pack oxen. 171. Which of the following semi-precious stones was imported into the Harappan civilization? Answer. Jade from Central Asia. 172. What evidence suggests that Harappan merchants may have visited and resided in Mesopotamia? Answer. The discovery of Sumerian texts referring to trade with the Indus region. 173. What materials did the Harappans import from regions like Afghanistan, Persia, and South India? Answer. Gold, copper, and tin. 174. The discovery of which items in both Harappan and Mesopotamian sites provides evidence of reciprocal trade? Answer. Reserved slipware and copper ingots. 175. How did the Harappans transport goods for overseas trade? Answer. By sea and river using ships and boats. 176. Which area is mentioned as a significant location for the internal trade of raw materials in the Harappan civilization? Answer: Gujarat. 177. What indicates the scale and importance of Harappan internal trade? Answer: the occurrence of various raw materials at different Harappan sites. 178. Which route connected the Karachi region with Mohenjo-daro and Chanhu-daro? Answer: overland route through the Indus River banks. 179. What route connected Rajasthan to regions to its north and west? Answer: the Ghaggar-Hakra stretch. 180. What kind of evidence suggests a strong network of trade between the Indus Valley and regions such as Turkmenistan and Mesopotamia? Answer: cylinder seals with Indus motifs found in foreign regions. 181. Which region is cited as having had a special niche in Harappan external trade with finds of Harappan-related objects? Answer: Bactria, northeast Afghanistan. 182. What is the significance of the term Meluha in Mesopotamian literature? Answer: it refers to the region to the east of Khuzestan, possibly including the Indus area. 183. What type of trade route was used to connect the Gulf region to Mesopotamia? Answer: maritime route from the Makran coast to the Oman Peninsula. 184. What is suggested by the discovery of Harappan-related objects in looted graves in Bactria? Answer: Bactrian traders were importing goods from the Indus Valley. 185. Which of the following areas had a maritime connection to the Harappan civilization for trade purposes? Answer: the Makran coast and the Oman Peninsula. 186. What was the role of the Hindu Kush region in Harappan external trade? Answer: it facilitated the movement of seasonal nomads who played a role in trade. 187. What evidence of Harappan trade has been found in the Gulf region? Answer: Indus script on pottery. 188. Which region had an overland route used to reach Mesopotamia through Iran and Afghanistan? Answer: Khuzestan. 189. What external material has been found in Quetta, Mehergarh, and Sibri that links them to Harappan trade? Answer: lapis lazuli from Afghanistan. 190. Which of the following was a key external route from the Indus region used to reach Mesopotamia? Answer: through the Arabian Peninsula and the Gulf. 191. According to D.D. Kosambi, who constituted the ruling class in the Harappan civilization? Answer: priests. 192. What is the main question regarding the political organization of the Harappan civilization? Answer: whether the Harappan state was an empire or several regional states. 193. Which of the following is not a possibility discussed regarding the nature of Harappan political organization? Answer: a unified democracy. 194. What alternative political scenario suggests that one of the Harappan chiefdoms may have dominated the others to form an empire? Answer: Harappa became the largest trading hub and centralized power. 195. What argument is made against the idea of a centralized empire in the Harappan civilization? Answer: the lack of a uniform material culture. 196. What historical period is referenced to argue that a uniform culture can exist without an empire? Answer: the 6th century BC. 197. What would the presence of kings or emperors in Harappan civilization imply? Answer: the presence of palaces and royal tombs. 198. What does the lack of evidence for palaces and royal tombs lead to questions about? Answer: the possibility of a monarchy. 199. What alternative form of governance is suggested in the absence of kings and emperors in the Harappan polity? Answer: an oligarchical system. 200. What role is speculated for the priestly class in Harappan governance? Answer: they may have played a significant role in governance. 201. What is one challenge in establishing whether Harappan civilization had a monarchy or an emperor? Answer: the lack of archaeological evidence for palaces or royal tombs. 202. What is the main source of information about Harappan religion? Answer: artifacts, seals, and pottery. 203. What is a possible explanation for the zoomorphic deities in Harappan seals? Answer: they represent totems of clans. 204. What does the Pasupti Mahadev seal from Mohenjo-daro depict? Answer: a three-faced deity in human form, surrounded by animals. 205. What interpretation has been suggested for the posture of the deity in the Pasupti Mahadev seal? Answer: it represents a god in meditation. 206. What is the significance of the goddess depicted on a cylinder seal from Kalibangan? Answer: she prevents two spearmen from fighting and has animal attributes. 207. In Harappan seals, what recurring theme involves animals and trees? Answer: animal forms of gods protecting trees. 208. What might the pipal tree seen on a Mohenjo-daro seal represent? Answer: the union of male and female deities. 209. What is suggested by the finding of a woman's skull in a jar at Chanhu-daro? Answer: it was a sacrificial offering to a guardian deity. 210. What does the predominance of mother goddess figurines in Harappan domestic settings likely represent? Answer: worship for fertility and childbirth. 211. What is the speculation regarding the function of the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro? Answer: it was a space for ritual bathing for religious purification. 212. What does the presence of stone cones and rings in Harappan settlements possibly signify? Answer: symbols of fertility or a phallic cult. 213. What does the prevalence of the unicorn on Indus seals likely represent? Answer: the emblem of the ruling class. 214. What is the significance of the sacrificial pits found at various Harappan sites such as Kalibangan and Lothal? Answer: they represent regional cults with potential ritual significance. 215. What is suggested by the claim that the Indus religion had roots in prehistoric naturalistic beliefs? Answer: the Indus people continued to worship animals and trees as spiritual entities. 216. What is the current understanding of the Harappan script? Answer: it is a pictographic script with around 400 to 600 signs. 217. What is the major challenge in deciphering the Harappan script? Answer: the language remains unknown due to the script's brevity and lack of context. 218. Which theory about the Harappan language has been supported by scholars like Parpola and Mahadevan? Answer. The language is Dravidian. 219. Which alternative theory regarding the Harappan script was proposed by S.R. Rao? Answer. The script is an early form of the Brahmi script. 220. What is the method followed by Natwar Jha in deciphering the Harappan script? Answer. He tried to correlate it with Vedic language structures. 221. According to Rajaram, what is the relationship between the Indus script and other ancient scripts? Answer. The Indus script has connections to the Brahmi script and other ancient alphabets. 222. What is a significant feature of some of the Indus script inscriptions? Answer. They are written from right to left. 223. What material were the Indus seals primarily made from? Answer. Steatite soft stone. 224. What is the most common animal depicted on the majority of Indus seals? Answer. Humpless bull unicorn. 225. What feature of the humpless bull unicorn is significant on the Indus seals? Answer. Its horns are shown superimposed on each other and pointing forward. 226. What is the likely purpose of the short decorated post in front of animals on the seals? Answer. A standard or banner. 227. Which type of seals is primarily characterized by a carved animal and an inscription? Answer. Square seals. 228. What do the clay ceilings found among ashes in Lothal's ventilation shafts suggest about the purpose of the seals? Answer. They marked ownership of property and merchandise. 229. What is the characteristic of the standard or banner depicted in the seals with animals such as elephants and tigers? Answer. It consists of a round tapering shaft, a bow-like top, and a square or round platform. 230. Why might the humpless bull unicorn on the seals be considered a mythical creature rather than a real animal? Answer. Its depiction includes supernatural elements not found in real animals. 231. What does the discovery of seal impressions on merchandise at Lothal suggest about the seal's role in Indus society? Answer. They were used to mark ownership and trade goods. 232. What evidence supports the use of seals to mark ownership of property? Answer. The seal impressions on clay ceilings and merchandise bales. 233. What is the primary material used in the creation of most terracotta figurines from the Indus Valley? Answer. Terracotta. 234. What type of figurines are commonly found in the Harappan archaeological sites? Answer. Human and animal figurines. 235. What is a distinctive feature of the female figurines found in Harappan settlements? Answer. They are generally more decorated than male figurines. 236. What purpose is likely associated with the terracotta cart figurines? Answer. Toys. 237. Which stone was commonly used in the creation of sculptures in the Indus Valley? Answer. Steatite, limestone, and alabaster. 238. What is the best-known bronze figurine from the Indus Valley? Answer. A nude dancing girl. 239. What is a distinctive feature of the dancing girl bronze figurine? Answer. She is nude, with her right hand on her hip and arms covered with bangles. 240. What type of pottery was more common in the Harappan civilization? Answer: painted pottery. 241. Which of the following was a common motif in the decoration of Harappan pottery? Answer: geometrical shapes, animals, birds, and tree patterns. 242. What is a unique feature of glazed pottery in the Harappan civilization? Answer: it is the first known example of glazed pottery in the ancient world. 243. What type of pottery was likely used for straining liquor? Answer: perforated pottery. 244. What is the significance of the jar found at Lothal that depicts a scene of birds and a fox? Answer: it represents the origin of the Panchtantra story. 245. Where were cemeteries generally located in the Indus Valley settlements? Answer: on the outskirts of the settlement. 246. Which of the following types of burials was found at Mohenjo-daro? Answer: complete, fractional, and post-cremation burials. 247. What is a characteristic of the general burial practice in the Harappan civilization? Answer: bodies were generally buried lying on their back with the head to the north. 248. Which of the following describes a burial method found at Kalibangan? Answer: brick chamber or kist burials. 249. What evidence was found at Lothal suggesting burial practices involving coffins or shrouds? Answer: skeletons buried with jewelry. 250. What type of burial was discovered at Surkotada? Answer: wooden coffin burials. 251. What does the discovery of pairs of male and female skeletons in a single grave at Lothal suggest? Answer: the practice of sati or ceremonial burial of dependents. 252. What were the primary uses of weights and measures in the Harappan civilization? Answer: commercial and building purposes. 253. How did the weights used by the Harappans progress? Answer: in a series of doubling units from 1, 2, 4, 8 to 64, etc. 254. What is the unit of length used by the Harappans that was equivalent to 1 angul in the Arthashastra? Answer: 37.6 centimeters. 255. What is the cubit measurement range used by the Harappans for length? Answer: 35.8 to 37.6 centimeters. 256. Which river is believed to have been a mighty river during Harappan times, possibly identified as the Saraswati River in Vedic texts? Answer: Ghaggar River. 257. What natural event is suggested as a possible cause for the shift in the Ghaggar River, leading to the destruction of cities? Answer: earthquakes in the Himalayas. 258. According to the economic decline theory, what caused the collapse of the Harappan civilization? Answer: a severe decline in trade leading to economic depression. 259. What signs of socio-cultural erosion have been reported by archaeologists in the Harappan cities? Answer: massive squatter colonies and street encroachments. 260. What happened to the survivors of the Harappan civilization according to the theory of survival and continuity? Answer: they adopted the culture of their new homelands in the south. 261. What was the traditional theory regarding the end of the Harappan civilization? Answer. The Harappans were destroyed by invading Aryans. 262. What evidence did early proponents of the Aryan invasion theory cite to suggest the Harappans were destroyed by invaders? Answer. Skeletons found in the upper levels of the eastern mound at Mohenjo-daro. 263. What has been established regarding the skeletons found at Mohenjo-daro? Answer. The cut marks on some skeletons did not lead to death. 264. What objects found in the northwest regions are mistakenly associated with Aryan invaders by some scholars? Answer. Objects of West and Central Asiatic derivation. 265. How do modern scholars interpret the objects of Afghan origin found in the Quetta and Mehergarh areas? Answer. As part of the trade network of the mature Harappan period. 266. What is the primary reason for the misunderstanding of the Aryan invasion theory? Answer. Misunderstanding of archaeological data. 267. What does the late Harappan phase refer to? Answer. A decline and transformation within the Indus civilization itself. 268. Where were signs of a degenerate late Harappan phase first observed? Answer. Sindh Jhukar and Mohenjo-daro. 269. What characterized the late Harappan pottery known as cemetery H ware? Answer. Smaller size and absence of drains and baths. 270. Which region showed evidence of transformation during the late Harappan period due to new pottery and cultural changes? Answer. Gujarat. 271. What is a key feature of late Harappan sites in Gujarat? Answer. A dramatic cultural discontinuity. 272. What led to a shift of focus of settlements towards the Doab during the late Harappan period? Answer. A shift in the Ghaggar-Hakra river's course. 273. What caused the decline of the Harappans, according to scholars? Answer. Environmental changes and the drying up of the Ghaggar-Hakra river. 274. Which area saw a significant movement of Harappans during the late Harappan period, leading to interaction with the Ganga Valley and other regions? Answer. The Doab. 275. How did Harappans adapt during their expansion into new regions, such as the Deccan or Malwa? Answer. By creating small, diversified agricultural settlements. 276. What evidence suggests that Harappan urban traits disappeared but agriculture remained prevalent during the late Harappan period? Answer. The absence of large settlements and urban planning.